What movie do you consider perfect? Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb? The idea that all of humanity could come to an end because the people in charge are idiots still blows my mind. This movie was made 55 years ago. Little Miss Sunshine. The characters, and the cast selected for them, absolutely brilliant. The storyline is really in-depth yet relatable because the Hoovers are like any other family, complicated. The writing is superb, all the characters have development and impactful scenes. And the camera work. My word, is it phenomenal. Time and time again each shot is symbolic. Every character's position in frame means something. Fantastic work. And don't get me started on the soundtrack. If you're not blown away by any of the sheer skill I've mentioned, the music throughout will definitely sway you. Touching and emotive, so fitting. It's so lovely and I always get emotional by its beauty every time I watch it. The original Alien. I'm 24 years old, born in 1995. First time watching was in the grandparents' farmhouse in Ireland. Grandmother puts it on at 10:30 and says, "Enjoy lads, love you both," and leaves us with Coca-Cola, crisps. You name it, we had it, all the munchies 2 12-year-olds could want. End of the film, and I've never been so fucking terrified. Still scares me to this day and I practically know it word for word. John Carpenter's The Thing. It's the perfect blend of isolation, paranoia, bloody horror, practical effects, and a shape-shifting alien. Plus this unused idea for the final confrontation is a must-see by anyone who has enjoyed this movie. Edit 2. Can't believe I forgot about the write-up that tells the story from the alien's perspective. Thanks, /you/Scars the Vampire. It makes some assumptions about the end, but is still an enjoyable read. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the perfect action movie for me. The intro to Indiana Jones in the jungle is perfect, even with little dialogue. The pacing is great. The characters are solid, the humor is natural, the environments are diverse, and the music is unforgettable. Just an awesome, fun time. The Hunt for Red October. Believable characters, believable tech, even for the one bleeding edge thing that underpins the whole movie. Deaths are few and significant. Very little in the way of special effects, so what is that doesn't screw things up too badly? It's a repeat watch for me. Back to the Future, the first one, though I do enjoy the other two. The dialogue is brilliantly tight. The acting is incredible and the story, while bizarre, is original and executed flawlessly and includes some truly iconic sequences. The skateboard chase scene, the insane bedroom scene with his mom, the parking lot knockout, the Johnny B. Good sequence, etc. Also, the whole aesthetic of the movie is one big masterpiece. The set pieces, the cinematography, the soundtrack, it all fits together as one. When I think of movie magic, this is one of the movies that comes to mind. Second edit, saw a few comments about how weird it is, and there's more than one weird part of this movie, that George hires Biff years later and is cool with him being around. I always thought it was way darker than that. George hit Biff so hard that he lost consciousness for several minutes. In real life, that means serious brain damage, which would explain how dopey Biff is later on. But George wasn't content with that. He wanted to subtly control Biff psychologically for the rest of his life. And so he did. To make it even darker, in BTTF2 Biff briefly wakes up from being knocked out as Marty is standing over him. What does Marty do? He violently fist blasts him directly in the face at a 90-degree angle, hard enough to knock him fully unconscious a second time. We never see how badly that truly wrecks him in the alternate future. Prisoners. It never had a dull moment and always makes you think, like, if you're in that situation, what would you do? Or, oh, he's the one who did it, fuck NVM, it's her. Oh, it's him for sure, or maybe it's... etc. etc. The acting is only just the best acting can ever reach. Everything was just genius from start, middle to end. Airplane. This is one of those movies that's the equivalent of the ball movie. If the comedy broke just a little, or the timing was off, it would be really bad. Instead it's comedic genius from Mrs. Brady being the only one who could speak jive to all the exterior shots of a jet that has propeller noises. Edit. Thank all 300 of you who have correctly pointed out that it was Mrs. Cleaver. Children of Men. Its cinematography is incredible. The acting and story flow of events is also perfect. Everything came together and it's beautiful. The Prestige. Has big names, good unexpected and believable twists, a touch of sci-fi and touches on some interesting moral / ethical dilemmas that humanity might need to deal with one day. Tombstone. Yes, there are liberties taken against the true story, and I'm okay with that. Everybody talks about Val Kilmer's performance as Doc, and they're not wrong, but that's not the only great dynamic to the film. The relationships between each main character, ranging from good / neutral / evil as well as lawful / neutral / chaotic, are phenomenal as well. The original Jumanji. If you haven't watched it in a while, do it and pay attention to the details. There's no redundant scene in that entire movie. The attention arc is perfect, there's a payoff for everything. A lot of subtext. It's a truly great movie. Up. It is my all-time favorite movie. No matter how many times you watch it, it'll make you laugh, cry, and feel like a kid again. It is the perfect story, with perfect characters, and a perfect setting. How to Train Your Dragon. Went in expecting kinda rubbish kids film with a not at all catchy title. Ended up being a deep story about how humans slaughter these creatures that exist under a dictatorship of mind control and the threat of being killed. On top of that there is a bunch of rich dragon lore. The Lost Boys. If the movie came out today, Tim Capello playing the saxophone would totally be up there with Ricardo Mallo's. Pan's Labyrinth. Great story. It's basically an adult fairy tale, plus Guillermo del Toro's monsters, with an ending open to interpretation. A+. Short Circuit 2. A robot comes to life and struggles to fit in with normal life. He seeks purpose by reading, joining a street gang, considers religion, and dresses in human clothes, changing his appearance to try and fit in. He soon realizes that humans feel the way he does too. Helps his Indian pal ask out his lady friend. Then he steals some jewels, before realizing it's wrong, catches the bad guys, then becomes an American citizen. I have to admit though, I'm probably the only one that thinks this film is perfect. 12 Angry Men. I don't think there's ever been a better character study put on film. 12 individual characters in 90 minutes, and they all feel fully realized. Interstellar. As a child, my dad would often travel halfway across the world for work. With me being a very anxious child, I was always worried sick, thinking I would never see him again, and angry and sad that he had to go in the first place. Because of that, watching Interstellar I could really relate to the way Murph felt when Cooper left, and couldn't help seeing myself and my dad in their close-knit relationship. Also, beside my own emotional connection, the movie has beautiful imagery and concepts. The giant wave scene on the ocean planet might be my favorite scene from any film ever, as well as an amazing soundtrack. Jurassic Park. Watched that recently and love how it holds up and how the characters are introduced and developed along the movie. Just a shame what happened to the franchise since then. I found Seven Samurai to be nearly perfect. Despite the language and cultural difference, I could relate to the characters, watch the development and get highs and lows through the story. Apollo 13. It tells the story, only having to dramatize, simplify a few small things to appeal to less familiar audiences. You don't have to embellish that story either because it's already so good. One person in test screenings said it's more Hollywood crap, they would have totally died without knowing that it's 99.9% a true story. Raising Arizona. Watched for the first time in over a decade at an outdoor screening, and man is that entire movie quotable. Coen brothers' use of tone and pacing is just incredible. Also one of Nick Cage's finest performances. Plus Holly Hunter does not get enough credit for her comedy performance. Personally, The Departed. Dialogue, characters, direction, plot, acting is all amazing. But I am a journalist, so on a more serious critic-like note, Pulp Fiction. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the movie. Even the slow parts serve a distinct purpose. The Lord of the Rings. Even after 14 years, they still hold up. In Bruges. It has everything, and it's all done well. There are parts of Martin McDonagh's other movies that I like more, but In Bruges is perfectly buttoned up. Inside Llewyn Davis. So I think the Coen brothers have better films, like Fargo. I can still get angry it didn't win Best Picture, but I find ILD just really magical. My favorite part of it is how Lynn just continually keeps encountering the perfect inspiration for the folk album that will give him the success he seeks, but he is both too much of an asshole and too stricken with grief to recognize it and or do something with it. Despite the film's melancholic and frustrating nature, I actually found quite some solace in it when I saw it for the first time in the middle of my depression. Runners-up would be Spirited Away, Memento, The Witch, The Wicker Man, 1973, and Up. Requiem for a Dream. The storyline is brutally captivating. The cinematography is unique and extremely effective. Nothing else looks like this movie. And the soundtrack, by Clint Mansell, who has gone on to score many films since, is brilliant. The cast is quite good too. Definitely my favorite movie, and the only one I would ever consider to be perfect. The Sandlot. I don't care how many times I see it or how cheesy it is. I still love it and spend the full 2 hours quoting the movie. You play ball like a girl. Predator. It's just a bunch of action movie dudes fighting a badass alien monster in the jungle with big heavy machine guns. There's no damsel in distress, I know. The one girl is a hostage of sorts. There's no love story. There's no cheesy emotional motivation in the movie. It's just an action movie, with probably the coolest antagonist of all time. It's suspenseful, thrilling, exciting, and it's the perfect example of an action movie.